Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel, Forever in Memory. In this video, we'll be honoring American celebrities who have passed away today and in recent days, along with other notable figures from around the world. Before we begin, please show your support by giving this video a like. It really helps the channel. Thank you. And let's get started.
Died on September 24th, 2025. Stan Turner, 81, was an American television news anchor whose calm authority and steady voice became a familiar presence for viewers across Minnesota for decades. Best known for his years at KSTP-TV in Minneapolis, St. Paul, he anchored evening broadcasts through the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, guiding audiences through local developments and national crises alike with a rare blend of gravitas and warmth. Turner was admired not only for his polished delivery, but for his sense of responsibility. He saw journalism as a public service and carried that ethic into every broadcast. Colleagues recalled his meticulous preparation before going on air, his respect for reporters in the field, and his ability to remain composed during breaking news. Beyond the anchor desk, he lent his voice to documentaries, public service projects, and community initiatives, reinforcing his role as a trusted civic figure. His influence extended to younger journalists, many of whom credit him with mentorship and encouragement during their first years in the newsroom. For viewers, he was more than a broadcaster. He was a steady companion in their living rooms, part of the rhythm of daily life. Stan Turner's passing closes a chapter in regional journalism. He is remembered as a consummate professional, a guide through turbulent decades, and a man whose integrity and dedication made him one of the Midwest's most respected newsmen.
Died on September 23, 2025. John Stapleton, 78, was a British journalist and broadcaster whose versatility made him a familiar face on television for more than 4 decades. Beginning his career in newspapers before moving into broadcasting, he became known for his clear, approachable style and his ability to handle both hard news and lighter features with equal ease. Stapleton worked across a range of programs, from current affairs to morning television. He was part of the launch team for TV-AM in the 1980s, later co-presented shows like Watchdog, where he championed consumer rights, and became a trusted presence on Good Morning Britain and regional news. His interviews were marked by a directness that never slipped into hostility, earning him the trust of both audiences and guests. Away from the screen, Stapleton was respected as a mentor and colleague, valued for his professionalism and generosity in an industry often marked by competitiveness. Viewers remember him for his calm authority during major stories and his approachable warmth in everyday segments, a balance that made him one of British television's most enduring figures. His passing is felt widely, both by colleagues who shared studios with him and by generations of viewers who felt he was part of their mornings. John Stapleton leaves behind the image of a broadcaster who saw journalism as a public duty, delivering the news with clarity, fairness, and humanity.
Died on September 24, 2025. Leo W. Gerard, 78, was a Canadian labor leader whose life's work was dedicated to the rights and dignity of workers across North America. Born in Sudbury, Ontario, he rose from a teenage smelter worker to become International President of the United Steelworkers, USW, one of the largest industrial unions in the world. Girard was known for his tough negotiating style, his deep empathy for working families, and his belief that unions must be both economic and moral forces. Under his leadership from 2001 to 2019, the USW expanded its global alliances, forged new campaigns for environmental and health protections, and stood at the forefront of trade debates. He pushed hard against outsourcing and unfair trade practices, advocating for policies that would protect domestic jobs while also supporting international solidarity with workers abroad. At the bargaining table, he was unflinching, but within the union halls, he was remembered as approachable, plain-spoken, and fiercely loyal. Girard believed that labor rights were inseparable from social justice, and he often spoke out on issues of equity, healthcare, and community welfare. His leadership extended beyond contracts. He sought to modernize the labor movement, aligning it with environmental causes and emerging industries while defending the traditions of solidarity. His passing marks the loss of a giant in labor history. Colleagues and members recall a man who never forgot his own roots in the smelters of Sudbury, and who spent a lifetime making sure that the voices of workers were heard in boardrooms, legislatures, and on the global stage. Leo Girard leaves a legacy of conviction, courage, and unyielding commitment to the people he served.
Died on September 21, 2025. Ron Carroll, 57, was the Chicago house vocalist, songwriter, DJ, and producer, affectionately known as the Minister of Sound, whose gospel-rich baritone and crowd-lifting hooks helped carry the city's club culture onto global dance floors. A church-trained singer who came up in Chicago's house scene, he wrote for and with Scene Pillars, penning lyrics for Barbara Tucker's I Get Lifted, fronting French house hits like Superfunk's Lucky Star, and voicing transatlantic anthems from Hard Souls Back Together to Axwell and Bob Sinclair's What a Wonderful World. He died of a heart attack days after performing at a hometown festival. Carroll's appeal was range and uplift, sermon cadence verses that bloomed into simple, generous choruses built for 3 a.m. sing-alongs. He moved easily between studio and stage, running labels and collaborations while touring as a DJ who sets braided classic Chicago swing with modern punch. To younger producers, he was a connector and mentor. To audiences, a guarantor that a night could still turn communal the moment his voice hit the PA. His passing leaves a silence across house music's diaspora from Southside basements to European festivals. But his hooks remain embedded in the music's shared memory, proof that a single unmistakable voice can make a room feel like a choir.
Died on September 22, 2025. Suleiman Shpaho, 75, was a Bosnian politician and economist who played a visible role in the country's post-war public life. Trained in economics, he began his career in finance and management before moving into politics, where he became known for his pragmatic approach and his ability to navigate Bosnia and Herzegovina's often fragile coalition landscape. Shpaho served as a parliamentarian and held positions that linked economic planning with regional development, advocating for stability, modernization, and stronger ties with European institutions. Colleagues described him as careful with numbers, cautious with promises, and persistent in trying to secure investment for communities rebuilding after conflict. Beyond politics, he was engaged in academic and civic initiatives, writing on economic transitions and contributing to discussions about how Bosnia could balance tradition with the demands of a globalizing economy. He was regarded as a mentor to younger economists and party members, remembered for his courtesy even in heated debate. His death closes a chapter in Bosnia's political story. Suleiman Spaho is remembered as a steady, thoughtful voice during volatile times, a man who believed that rebuilding required both patience and vision, and whose life reflected a commitment to the difficult work of public service.
Died on September 24, 2025, Bob Oldis, 96, was an American baseball player, coach, and scout whose career stretched across more than half a century of the game. A catcher by trade, he played in the major leagues during the 1950s and early 1960s with the Washington Senators, Pittsburgh Pirates, and Philadelphia Phillies. Though his playing days were modest in statistics, he became forever linked with the 1960 World Series champion Pirates, remembered as a reliable backup who brought steady defense and clubhouse presence to a historic team. When his time as a player ended, Oldis transitioned seamlessly into coaching and then scouting, building a second career that would last decades longer than his own time behind the plate. As a coach, he emphasized fundamentals, patience, and the quiet details that often separate a professional from a journeyman. As a scout, he had an eye for potential and a willingness to spend long hours on the road searching for talent, helping organizations restock their systems and refine their rosters. Colleagues remembered him as old school in the best sense, courteous, diligent, and always ready to share his wisdom with younger players. He bridged generations of baseball, carrying stories of the 1960s into the modern era, and reminding those around him that the game's heart still lay in preparation, teamwork, and respect. His passing at the age of 96 marks the loss of a living link to one of baseball's most iconic championships. Bob Oldis is remembered not only as a Pirate, but as a lifelong servant of the sport, whose dedication kept him in the game he loved for nearly all of his life.
Born on June 21, 1979, in Virginia, Minnesota, Christopher Michael Pratt grew up far from the spotlight that would one day make him a Hollywood leading man. He was the youngest of 3 children in a working-class family. His father, Dan, worked in remodeling and mining before later dealing with health challenges, while his mother, Kathy, worked at a Safeway supermarket. Life at home was modest, filled with small-town rhythms, sports at school, and the everyday chores of a Midwestern household. Chris showed an outgoing streak from an early age, the kind of boy who loved making people laugh and could turn any dull moment into a small performance. Teachers remembered him less for his grades than for his charm, and a knack for drawing attention with jokes or impressions. Athletics offered another outlet. Wrestling, football, and track kept him busy, though he was never the star athlete. He carried himself with easy confidence, a balance of charisma and an earth's-air presence that made him well-liked by classmates. Despite this natural magnetism, Pratt's teenage years were marked more by uncertainty than by a clear plan. After his family relocated to Lake Stevens, Washington, he found himself drifting after high school.
He briefly attended a local community college before dropping out, unsure of his path. Odd jobs followed, working as a discount ticket salesman, a daytime laborer, even briefly as a stripper for bachelor parties. At one point, he lived out of a van in Maui, Hawaii, soaking up the island lifestyle while grappling with the aimlessness of early adulthood. Those years on the margins, though difficult, gave Pratt something crucial: resilience and perspective. He learned to get by with little, to find humor in struggle, and to look at life less as a set track than as an adventure. Beneath the uncertainty was an instinct that entertainment could be his calling, that his humor and presence might one day be more than party tricks. Standing on the threshold of his 20s, Chris Pratt had no map for the future, but he carried within him the restless energy that would eventually propel him onto television screens, and later, the biggest stages of Hollywood.
As Pratt entered his 20s, the years of drifting suddenly began to align into a path. Living in Maui and scraping together money from odd jobs, he kept his sense of humor alive, often entertaining friends and strangers alike with stories, impressions, and an infectious laugh. It was during this period that fate intervened in the most unlikely way. While waiting tables at a Bubba Gump shrimp restaurant, his charisma caught the attention of actress and director Rae Dawn Chong. She saw in him the spark of a performer and offered him a role in her short film Cursed Part 3. The part was small and the film obscure, but it was the first door into the industry, and Pratt, hungry for opportunity, walked through it. That experience set him on the uncertain road of Hollywood auditions. He moved to Los Angeles with little money, but an unshakable confidence in his ability to win people over. Casting agents noticed his blend of boyish looks and easy comic timing, and soon he landed recurring roles on television. His first break came with Everwood, 2002 to 2006, where he played the upbeat Bright Abbott, a character whose mix of charm and goofiness fit Pratt's natural persona. The role gave him a steady foothold and introduced him to a wider audience. After Everwood, he kept working, hopping between television projects and smaller film parts. He appeared in The O.C. and landed supporting roles in films like Wanted and Bride Wars. But his career truly shifted when he was cast as Andy Dwyer on NBC sitcom Parks and Recreation, 2009 to 2015. Originally intended as a temporary character, Andy's dim-witted but lovable energy resonated so strongly with audiences that Pratt was made a series regular. The role allowed him to unleash his improvisational talent, comedic instincts, and natural warmth, turning him into a fan favorite. Behind the scenes, Pratt was evolving. No longer the uncertain young man living in a van, he was now a working actor who had carved out a niche in comedy. Yet he also carried ambitions that reached beyond the lovable goofball roles. He wanted to prove that he could shoulder action, drama, and leading man status. The groundwork was laid. Television had made him familiar. Comedy had made him beloved, and soon Hollywood would ask him to reinvent himself once again, this time for the biggest stage imaginable.
The next transformation in Chris Pratt's career was as dramatic as any of his on-screen roles. While audiences loved him as the affable Andy Dwyer, Hollywood began to see in him the potential for something more. He reshaped his body with rigorous training, shedding the easygoing image of the sitcom sidekick and stepping into the frame of an action star. This reinvention paid off in spectacular fashion with Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, where Pratt as Peter Quill, Star-Lord, combined his trademark humor with charisma, swagger, and surprising emotional depth. The film's success not only launched a new Marvel franchise, but also established Pratt as a bankable leading man. From there, the roles grew bigger. In Jurassic World 2015 and its sequels, he carried the legacy of one of cinema's most iconic franchises, balancing spectacle with a human core. His Marvel appearances continued to endear him to global audiences as Star-Lord evolved from a roguish adventurer into a flawed but beloved hero. Pratt also broadened his range, starring in films like The Magnificent Seven and Passengers, and lending his voice to animated hits including the Lego Movie and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. He proved he could move seamlessly between comedy, action, and family entertainment, appealing to audiences of all ages. Beyond the screen, Pratt's journey was marked by resilience and reinvention. He spoke openly about the years of struggle before fame, grounding his public persona with an everyman quality that fans found relatable. His personal life, his marriage to Katherine Schwarzenegger, his devotion to his children, and his faith became part of his narrative, shaping him as not just a star, but as someone who never forgot where he came from. Today, Chris Pratt stands as a symbol of transformation, from a small-town boy with no clear direction to a sitcom favorite to one of the most recognized names in global cinema. His legacy is built not only on box office numbers, but on the unlikely story of persistence, humor, and belief in second chances. For millions of fans, he remains proof that even the most improbable dreams can, with grit and a bit of luck, be realized on the biggest stages in the world.